As a kid, I grew up around the Hudson Valley area in upstate New York, and while not as a spectacular place or glamorous as New York City itself, the Hudson Valley, more specifically Dutchess County, was filled with people who are very proud of their towns. It's an area full of history, an ancient remnant of the old colonial times, and to be honest, this place made me fall in love with history. I loved learning about the natives, old colonial times, the pilgrims, the wars, the dickhead who brought the plague over from a different country because he was too much of a stupid idiot to realize that he's actually not in India. Yet as riveting as the history was to me, I won't deny that Dutchess County's kind of fucking boring, especially my town. It was small, quiet, and barely worth mentioning. Yet the one thing that made my town just a bit more exciting than the others around the Hudson River was the simple fact that we were amongst the closest to Oniontown. And that is the subject of today's video. See, while trying to get a video ready for Halloween, I just couldn't stop thinking about this little town that many people around me never stopped talking about. I remember first hearing about it from my sister, in fact, when I was just a kid, and about how her friend would go up there and encounter some scary monster people. She described the town as a place where weirdo racists grew up and how they're all deformed and part of the KKK and they're all scary looking and how they'd all be super hostile to any outsider. I remember she told me a specific story of how a friend wanted to invite her over for a little dare. And it was simple. They were going to drive up to Oniontown, pass through the road, and then come back home. That's it. They weren't going to get out of the car. They weren't going to speak to the locals. They weren't even just going to buy something from the place. Just pass by it. And that's not so bad, right? Well, kinda. See, because her friend did come back, totally unharmed, but the car? Not so much. The locals apparently were throwing stones at him, and they threw heavy shit like bricks and wrenches even. There was even a guy that was sitting by his porch with his gun right on his lap. The guy was fine, but his car was just totaled. It was just full of dents and a broken window here and there. It was a horrible ordeal that she was glad not to be a part of. That terrified me though, as a child. It was unsettling because we lived around the corner of the town. In my head, I imagined the film The Hills Have Eyes, but in real life, and with people garbed in the KKK robes and with deformed babies in their arms and shit like that. I don't know. Yet as the years went by, and as I moved away from the Hudson Valley area, I never thought about Oniontown again. That is, until that one day I rewatched The Hills Have Eyes with my girlfriend. It got me thinking about Oniontown all over again. I had to know if the town still existed. It's been years, a decade even, since I even thought about the whole place. I just needed to learn more about it in general. And all I heard growing up was spooky horror stories about how they were a bunch of mongrels who kidnap and kill people, who dare trespass them, who sold drugs, like heavy, high-class drugs, and they were just a bunch of itchy, malnourished motherfuckers who just took PCP and all that shit up their vein. But actually researching them and finding videos on them, I expected something to be cleared up. I mean, this fabled little town can't actually be as bad as people make it out to be, right? It's just little rumors made by teens and paranoid adults, right? Like, it can't be all true. Well, yes and no. I mean, make no mistake, Oniontown does exist, but when I imagine the place, I imagine a run-down ghost town full of dilapidated buildings inhabited by freaks that look like Sloth from the Goonies. In reality, however, Oniontown isn't actually even a town. It's a dead-end dirt road within the middle of a forest haunted by old broken trailers that history's forgotten. And much like the trailers, the people that inhabit this little colony seem to have also been forgotten, and they themselves have seemed to have forgotten what year it is. The town is lost in time. And surprisingly enough, it's been that way for a while. Even back in 1947, this town seemed primitive, so much so that a reporter by the name of James L. Kilgallen went up there himself and reported just about how quaint it is that these people have no electricity, nor radios, nor even have an idea of what the atomic age was. He seemingly mocked them in his reports and talked about them as if they were low-life hillbillies who could barely speak, and how they had dumb kids that couldn't even pass the 8th grade or even come close to the 8th grade. and how nobody could read at all. Hell, even before Kilgallen's savage call-out post on the town, there was a book titled Historic Dover that came out before Kilgallen's articles back in 1908 that berated and mocked the people by saying that the men were too lazy and too dumb to be anything in their life, while the women were nothing more than birthing machines. I mean, even Kilgallen's post made them out to be a quaint town that was interesting enough even though they had no technology whatsoever. But that's the thing about Kilgallen and so many other people who have written about Oniontown. They all set this sort of idea that Oniontown is like some sort of sideshow. Calling it quaint, in my opinion, is a bit insulting. You call circus acts quaint. You call movies quaint. Or that weirdo down the street who can blow bubbles with a hookah pipe and the bubbles burst into colorful smoke. Now that motherfucker is quaint as shit. But to call an entire little neighborhood of people quaint is almost dehumanizing, to say the least. Yet really, that's all Oniontown has ever been for most people. They're less than humans. Even the locals would describe them as such. They're hillbilly gap-toothed psychopaths that get mad as fuck when you drive by them. Yet, with that hostility and savagery leads to more vicious rumors. It's like a vicious cycle that just won't stop because both sides are just treating each other like shit. As time went forward and everyone else was enjoying television, HD cameras, smartphones, video games, and all sorts of technological advances, Oniontown stayed in the dust. But with time, they became more and more fascinating as this odd little town that's full of racists, that lack electricity, and is full of inbreds. As more people treated them as a sideshow, the residents of Oniontown began to lash out. With their hostility came about more rumors, and with rumors came intrigue, and with the intrigue came dumb people who were willing to see if they were true. And with dumb people visiting Oniontown every now and again, the denizens, rightfully so, had enough and began throwing whatever they could at the cars of these strange passerbys that clearly don't live here. Yet because of the ferocity and hostility, not even the local police would help you out. So if you ever got assaulted by these motherfuckers, well, tough shit. The police probably won't do anything about it. They were scared of Oniontown. You were on your own going there because the police would rarely get involved if it meant going to that savage little place. Even the local post service won't even bother delivering mail to them because they feel like they're not worth getting mail. Rumor after rumor. Years go by and teenagers start exploring, and eventually one little video posted on the then fledgling site called YouTube was uploaded titled Adventures in Oniontown. And unfortunately I can't actually find the video itself. Apparently this sparked interest in local teens to go up to Oniontown and meet the freaks themselves. Like way more interest than ever before. It became a national phenomenon at that point. And that's what a few teens did, with horrifying result. And what do teens do after going through a traumatic experience? Not post it online, of course.
They're coming!
They're coming! Go! Go if you don't stop!
Now, to be honest with you guys, these videos posted on YouTube by a bunch of curious dumb teens all play out the same. They all talk about how they're gonna visit that hick freak Oniontown place, then they're peppered with a bunch of stones and shit, scream a lot, and then drive out as fast as they can. It's formulaic, as you can imagine. But what's more interesting is this one video that had the same format, yes, but instead was cut up oddly and actually had the kids interacting with some of the folk outside of Oniontown, that being Dover Plains, which is very, very close to Oniontown. Ironically, they talked to them in a McDonald's, which is the same McDonald's featured in a different Oniontown video.
Picked up some kid that works at McDonald's. Wait, and he is now driving Kristen's car down to Oniontown. What?
The people of Dover Plains don't think too highly of them. In fact, at this point, I'm sure you've realized nobody does. Even when looking online, I'd find some interesting stories told by people who've been to Oniontown or who have grown up next to Oniontown, and how they drive by and see naked kids playing at 2 a.m., hillbillies crawling out of their houses with shotguns and rifles, or other claims that they'd see drug deals going on in the little neighborhood that they call a town. Hell, Vice even did an interview with some of the folk over at Oniontown, where the interviewer allegedly caught some of the residents talking about how they were caught selling drugs, or allegedly doing so anyways. So going back to the teens in this video, you can see them driving incredibly close to Oniontown, like on the very lip of the neighborhood. Teens are just chatting away about how spooky the homes look and how weird the Oniontown folk are. Then one of the girls starts panting and gets scared, when suddenly this douche does this.
If you don't fucking go, I swear to fuck to God.
Roll up your windows.
No! No!
What happens next, well, probably won't shock you very much.
They're coming!
They're coming! Go! Go if you don't stop! Go! Go! They're coming for us! No!
After honking his horn like a super jackass, the girls beg him to leave, and he does. But he's soon chased by a pickup truck. You can't really see who's in the driver's seat, but according to the kids, it came straight from Oniontown, and the teens are now living a real-life horror movie. I mean, seriously, I know they're in trouble, and I'm sure they're traumatized because of this event, but it's kind of beautiful, don't you think? The whole setup, I mean, you got your dumb teens having too much fun, the scary rumors by the locals.
Are they like a different kind of breed?
Yes, much different.
The spooky haunted place you wanted to go because you're too stupid to understand that you don't belong there, and then the consequences of it all. I'm sorry, but it's hard to feel sympathetic for these kids, seeing as how they were sort of asking for it. Though there is one part of the video that's just absolutely fucked. The truck keeps chasing them down the road and gets incredibly close. At one point, it even passes by their car and actually tries to block their path with the truck, yet the car goes around. Moments later, the truck catches up and suddenly this happens.
Oh my god!
I'm going.
Get the fuck out of here, Sven! Oh my god!
That right there is the window, shattered to bits. The person in the truck ended up smashing the car's window, and man, good thing you got insurance, bud.
He broke your window!
It's fine, I have insurance.
The people's perception of Oniontown is rightly justified, but it makes me wonder how much of this is actually a rumor. Many have ventured within Oniontown for a sideshow attraction, and many journalists have come out with much of their perspective validated. Yet I really wonder if people should even bother getting to know the people of Oniontown at all. I mean, make no mistake, I am not trying to protect these people, nor am I actually trying to defend them. The people of Oniontown, without a doubt, are very dangerous, and this place is a dangerous area. And I feel that's what makes this topic scarier than any other fictional story I could have told you. Oniontown is not inhabited by ghosts, or demons, or the Jersey Devil, or Sasquatch, but it is inhabited by dangerous people who have secluded themselves to life within their tiny community. They treat outsiders like pests, yet outsiders treat them as entertainment. I mean, wouldn't you get sick of people mocking you nonstop, visiting your home just to poke fun of you and take photos of you, questioning your lifestyle and constantly ridiculing you just because your environment doesn't match theirs? There's a boiling point to everyone, and this community has reached theirs many years ago. Whether it started from a book that called them worthless hillbillies, or journalists who have called them quaint or odd or some other synonym, or just stupid teens harassing them whenever they can find the time, the folk of Oniontown live their lives secluded because that's just what they want. And when a dumb kid with his dumb friends come hollering over with their dumb car and camera, then I'm sure you too would want to go after them and teach those assholes a lesson. But by the end of the day though, there's no real justification for what the people of Oniontown do. There is no sympathy for those who treat them as sideshow attraction either, but I am doubtful of Oniontown's most outrageous rumors, that being that it's a town full of inbred hillbillies that are mutants that come from a fucking horror movie or a 1940s B movie, because those creatures aren't real. Oniontown though is, and the people who live there are real. Real people who are probably sketchy as fuck, mostly scary as fuck, and without a doubt dangerous. But it's also a town full of kids and adults who might just want to live and work an honest living and don't need a bunch of dumb teens from the suburbs reminding them how isolated and foreign they are to the rest of the world. Nobody goes to Oniontown for a vacation. Nobody goes there at all, save for the ones who live there and the ones who dare to go near. It's a small community that wants to be left alone, and if that's all they want, then why aren't we at least giving them that? The rumors will forever continue for Oniontown, and the danger may forever lurk there as well for any other outsider. Though, if there's anything you should learn from watching this video, it's that always remember that even the scariest people you know are also just humans. None of us should be alienated, and none of us should be treated as subhuman. Respect the wishes of the people of Oniontown. Don't go bothering them, and they won't go out of their way to bother you. Thanks for watching.